Welcome back to Making Pokemon from New Types with Red Rain. If you enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. I ended up rolling Salazzle and Oranguru, which gives me Fire, Poison, Normal, or Psychic. I can't stand Oranguru, and I don't know what to do with normal typing, so a Psychic-type Salazzle was kinda the only choice I had. So, roll the clip I recorded 2 months ago.
Started off by doing the same thing I did with Brion, tracing so I can get the general gist of the design down to make sure I like it. I started with one that uses a giant eye and kind of a tail based off a metronome. I didn't like that, but I did like the eye, so I expanded it and gave it a nice color palette. Then I went for a second design that was going to be more of a psychic warrior. It ended up looking quite like a flamingo. And the second one was going to be focused on a magical mirror and a lust for beauty. Generally, all three of these don't look the best. I'll put them up on screen. Design 2 ended up looking way too much like a flamingo, so it ended up getting scrapped. But I quite liked design 1 and 3, but neither of them scream psychic type. Well, one does, but I don't know. I love design 1, and it screams psychic, but it feels like it's missing something to its design. While 2 is a very good and standalone drawing that feels like it is a complete design, but it screams something along fairy type or grass type more than it does psychic, even though it has a really interesting backstory that it was basically seeking beauty and ended up becoming a monster. Or at least that's what lore says, and Pokédex entries written by a 10-year-old. But the thing is, I love both designs, but one feels incomplete while the other doesn't scream psychic. And after several attempts, I ended up with this. And I'll be honest, I think design 3 might come back if I end up getting a fairy-type Salazzle one day, because I honestly love that design. But for now, this is what we get for a psychic type. So I guess time to start properly working on it. So I kind of just started working from the head down since I had the basic concept down, as well as the pose I wanted, it being kind of sultry, because it's that kind of just Pokemon and Pokemon design. It's something I could quite actively see this little sucker doing. And frankly, I do not really regret it. It was actually kind of fun to draw. I guess it helps it is more humanoid than a lot of Pokemon, which I can actually draw people. Really, the hard thing about animals so far in this series has been head shapes. God, they suck. So I had it kind of twirling its tail like a piece of hair, and then I couldn't figure out what I was going to do with the other tail because I gave it 2 in this design. Eventually, I ended up settling on just using it as a balance to account for the fact it was only standing on one leg and had the other crossed behind it. The eye is kind of designed after like a giant hypno glasses kind of thing. I don't know, like think Team Flare visors, if that makes any sense. But honestly,
It definitely looks like a hypnotist, more or less. And instead of being instead of using pheromones, it's just straight up hypnosis, I guess. That's quite interesting.
Hypnosis and seduction.
Yeah. And is that 3 tails or
2?
2 tails. Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to make it more distinct, but then I also realized, like, oh, wait, how am I supposed to get it to stand up in its pose? Because, like, it looks like it's going to fall over. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing with the other tail. It's going to make it stand up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I knew I wanted 2 tails to make it more distinct, and then I'm like, and then I'm drawing the pose, and I'm like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. How is it standing up? Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, I haven't figured out how I'm positioning the other tail yet.
There you go. That could give it a sense of balance, more or less, in the pose.
That was the point.
Yeah. And, let's see. And then, I like how it's kind of like a mask it's wearing, too.
Yeah, I kind of did go for a bit of a masquerade now. Because, like, if you put, like, the giant eye there and then leave its beak, it kind of looks like a kind of stereotypical, like, masquerade mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then especially, like, the emphasis on, like, the size of the swirls, too, I think. Just, like, just to overemphasize the hypnosis aspect is quite nice. It feels like a very thing that Game Freak would do.
I just realized I've made 2 Psychic-type Pokemon, both focus on hypnosis.
Yeah. Plus, you've gotten 2 very feminine Pokemon from Sun and Moon, so I don't know how that's working out so far.
That's the person who's gotten a Ground-type Pokemon every time!
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, but yeah, I quite like it. The coloration scheme, too, fits the Psychic type, which, and I mean, like, it also feels like you can lean into either... I can almost feel like a bit of a normal vibe, too, which is funny, because normal, I think, was your other choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, yeah, that's, it's quite nice. One thing I noticed is that the tails seem to be, like, 2 different sizes as well. Or is that just the foreshortening of it?
More foreshortening.
Oh, okay.
Because the other tail's meant to be a lot more in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of think how, like, I don't know if you own these, but, like, how Nindroid figures have their stands, or they kind of sit, like, way farther back than everything else.
Yeah.
And then the other tail's meant to be more in its hand, because it's twirling it like you do hair sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what that was supposed to be.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask is, what's the pink on the left side there? Is that part of hypnosis, or is that the tail?
It's meant to be, like, kind of,
zoom in?
like this thing.
Yeah.
It's basically it creating, like, kind of psychic things. So it's meant to be, like, I can't remember what they're called, but, like, the pendulum things.
Yes.
That are used very typically in hypnosis. On, like, a copy of its tail.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's kind of like creating a psychic version of its tail that has those pendulum things.
Okay. Wow. Very nice. Yeah, I quite like it. Definitely stands out. From, like, it feels like it has its own distinct feel from regular Salazzle, and I like it.
Yeah, the hard thing is, like, I want to keep them, like, it's still, yes, this is still this Pokemon.
Yeah.
But it doesn't just be like, oh, it's this Pokemon with a different color palette. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to check out Red Rain's perspective, where he drew Dawn Fan. If you want to see that, click on the link on screen. If not, see you guys in the next one.